Yeah. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah, get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, bet you this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, the hardest part of the ring, better known as Kyle, and welcome to the Apron Bump. And well, I say welcome because you're welcome here, the listener. But you know who was not welcome in Philadelphia here on June 25th, 1995? Do you know who was not welcome there? The World Wrestling Federation was not welcome there. Boy, boy, howdy did they. Boy, was this a stinker, to say the least. And to have a stinker of a show in Philly, I don't know if you guys know this. This is kind of some inside baseball here. There's a little peek behind the curtain. But people in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, are kind of assholes. They're not assholes. They're just well, in 1995, and if you're a frequent listener of mine, you've listened to me cover ECW on this same timeline, covering it concurrently with WWF and WCW. So you know the kind of crowd that ECW brings. And it's kind of hilarious to consider that same crowd is here watching the Roadie. Here watching Erwin R. Scheister. Let me ask you this. Let me start it off with a question here. To you, the listener. Do you like Quang? Do you like Viscera? Do you like feet? Well, if any of those answers are yes, then you're in the right place, because King of the Ring 1995 has all of that and in bulk. Lots of fing. I just combined all three of those things. Lots of feet, lots of Mabel, lots of Savio Vega. That is literally 95% of the show is one of those two things. I'm so good at fucking counting. One of those three things. So, King of the Ring 1995. We're at the Elite 8 in this iteration of the King of the Ring tournament. Only the third tournament? I don't know. It's something I could easily Google, but I don't feel like it. But it's very early on in the history of King of the Ring. As we know, last year, Owen Hart won the tournament, became the King of Hearts, and went on to challenge Bret Hart in that classic steel cage match at SummerSlam 94. So we can only go up from there, right? As far as new generation goes, is this rock bottom? Oh, not Rocky Maivia. He's not here yet. But man, this is I'm looking forward to see how they rebuild after this show, because this was insane to watch. But I'll just say this. For the three companies that I'm reviewing in this Wrestling Wars of the 90s series, that being WWF, WCW, and ECW, at this point in the year, we can kind of see WCW and ECW picking up some steam, and we even hear evidence of that in this show, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, WWF, it's in a weird place right now. They're trying new things though. If nothing else, this episode isn't just going to be shitting on King of the Ring, because they are, at the end of the day, it is a new generation after all, and they're trying new things, and I applaud them for that. But sometimes you miss the mark. But this show is a beautiful, beautiful train wreck, and I was excited to talk about it and excited to be joined by Mr. Frets of the Fretzelmania podcast. You can listen to his podcast. Once again, that's the Fretzelmania podcast. Every week, you can listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Fretzelmania. I'll put all that info in the description below. Really good podcast. Really, really cool dude. Really entertaining guy. And does a lot of retro stuff as well. So if you like what I do, you should like what he does. And yeah, so go check that out. Let's get to it. WWF, King of the Ring, 1995. With myself and Mr. Frets from the Fretzelmania podcast.
Oh boy. Well, let's get this.
Oh man.
Nectar of the gods there.
That's what I needed. I should have, no, that's when I was watching the show. That's what I needed.
That's what I was, actually, I have my scotch on the other side of the room I needed for that show. Oh boy.
Man, well first, I mean, just like the era of wrestling that we're in is it's something. I mean, WCW is like approaching Dungeon of Doom era. You have ECW's like kicking off with Extreme Champion. They're like, well, I guess they've been kicked off, but they're like in the middle of building up their momentum. And then you have WWF, who is just I guess first question, were you watching during this time? This seems like this would have been like the height of your fandom.
It would have been actually kind of the start. I would have been casually watching wrestling on weekends, because when you lived in Canada in the 90s and you didn't have cable, wrestling was a little spotty. Like I would have caught Monday Night Raw on the odd weekend. I would just be watching it after like doing chores with my father. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, because I'm going back and trying to like relive that time. So I'm watching all the Raws and stuff. Which, first of all, it was a complete waste of time for this pay-per-view. But then you have like Superstars and Action Zone. Did you ever watch Action Zone growing up? Or do you remember it?
I did. I watched Superstars and Action Zone. Like, I think my earliest memory of watching Superstars would have been when someone who's on this show, Papa Shango, cursed the Ultimate Warrior.
I don't know who you're talking about. There's no Shango on this show, only the Supreme Fighting Machine. So, and that's better, right?
I don't know. Papa Shango. That's a toss up. Depends on the day.
I think Kama's a definitive bottom of the totem pole for his gimmicks, but that's just me. I've only seen a bit of it, but we'll talk about it a little bit in this show. But yeah. So King of the Ring, 1995, man. I guess for general thoughts, you got a chance to watch the show, right?
I did, and just on my morning walk today, I turned on After the Bell with Corey Graves. He did a review of it recently just to jog my memory, and I can go on and on about how I would rebook this show. I actually did in my archives on my podcast. We'll plug that later.
Hell yeah.
And spoiler alert for that one, I booked Owen Hart to repeat.
I like that.
You have a roster here of all these people who either not in the tournament or got eliminated in the first round. I'm gutted we didn't get King Mantar. Just what
Mantar, dude, Mantar is such like it's almost like a fever dream, because he debuts without his mask, by the way. He just debuts. He's just this dude with weird paint and weird hair or whatever. And then he just starts losing like immediately. Like what are we doing here with this guy with a mascot helmet? But you said, so you see, talking about like rebooking it. Oh, I was gonna do this later, but I'm gonna go ahead and list off some names that were in the King of the Ring tournament. So we had Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger, British Bulldog, Owen Hart, Jeff Jarrett, Undertaker. Of course, we got Mantar, Jacob Blue, so a bunch of stars is what I'm saying. So, and with that in mind, and we'll get to it later, I guess, but just to see what the finals were for this tournament is like the worst pairing of guys, I feel like, out of everybody, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And it was just the strangest one. I know Vince was trying to put someone new over. I got to give him credit here. I mean, we had Savio Vega was pulling the whole Rocky Balboa thing. Did you know that because they're in Philly, that Rocky Balboa is a thing, and they talk about the statue? It's like
it's like Rocky. we're in Philly, Doc.
And then a Philly cheesesteak, but we'll get there.
Oh,
it's like Rocky V plus Rocky 2, Adrian's Revenge.
That fucking cheesesteak, man. If anybody's like listening and hasn't watched the show, and you're like, what talking about a cheesecake for? You'll understand. But and by the way, we were DMing, and I was like, yeah, I tried watching the show all in one sitting, but I had to tap out. The part I had tapped out on was Bob Backlund, but we'll get to it. But yeah, King of the Ring. First of all, so this is when King of the Ring was formatted as a one-night tournament, or at least, they get down to 8 and then they do that whole thing in one night, which I like. What are your thoughts on the one-night tournament concept?
I like it a lot better. I mean, even with things like Deadly Game, getting it all done in one sitting, other than your qualifying rounds, it makes for, I think, a better overall show. It makes, it fills the time, because how else were you going to main event this show?
Yeah. I mean, what, you don't think Sid and Tatanka versus Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow was a pay-per-view main event worthy match?
Sid versus Tatanka is a pay-per-view worthy main event match, but I don't know about the others.
I would have rather just had Sid go out there and cut a promo for 30 minutes personally. But yeah, so King of the Ring, starting off hot. Well, the Peacock version gives us a little treat, gives us a Coliseum home video exclusive, I guess. So the whole story here is that Razor Ramon was originally in the tournament, but he went down with injury. So to take his place is going to be determined in this pre-show King of the Ring qualifier match. And we got Savio Vega versus Erwin R. Scheister. Oh man, this match is pretty much what you would expect it would be. Nothing special. I mean, it's a pre-show match, so it is what it is. But Savio Vega's out there, the friend of Razor Ramon, of course, friends in Puerto Rico, according to Razor at the last show. So we got Savio here facing off against IRS. Ultimately, Vega wins with the spinning heel kick. And so Razor's out, but Razor's friend, old Savio here, old Quang, takes his spot. And now Savio Vega is in the King of the Ring tournament. What were your thoughts on this little pre-show deal?
Well, I knew we were getting the chance to have King Quang, so that puts a couple of extra Meltzer stars on it.
Of course.
Savio Vega had the SV shaved in his head. Kyle, what would you have shaved in your head if you had the chance?
Probably SV. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything funny.
Oh man. Or it could have been something that it was in Doc Hendrix's racist Spanish.
Well, don't worry. We'll get to that. Hubcaps.
There's anyway, a worse one. No. And the Hardy Boys on door duty here. Got to give a big shout out. Unfortunately, earlier today, we got the news that Jeff Hardy's been released. We know nothing. Let's not speculate and make any jokes, because, Jeff Hardy is beloved. But Erwin here, I noticed this in every IRS match, Mike Rotunda match. I'm doing one later this week. Spoiler alert.
Hell yeah.
He is dripping like wrestling Twitter falling into a thirst trap. I see you, Faye Jackson. I see you.
Yeah, why is this dude wrestling in a white button-up? there's nothing more unflattering than that. And like, you think he'd learn, or maybe that's what he wants his character to be, the sweaty man with suspenders, which some people might like that.
And a tie. And he gets choked with it every time.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, but yeah. So, Savio's in the tournament. That match happened. But don't worry, we got lots and lots and lots more Savio Vega to talk about. There's no show. If you're a Savio Vega mark and you're listening to this show, this is a show for you, because this is a Savio Vega show, 1995. The next match, so really the match that technically kicks off the pay-per-view, we got Savio Vega, and he's facing off against Yokozuna, a beefy Yoko. And so this is a quarterfinal match. And yes, this match happens maybe 10 minutes after the previous match with Savio Vega. So he's right back in it. And not only is he back in it, Savio, he's a little bit tired. He's a little bit beat up by getting beat up by our IRS. But now you throw him back in there to face a 641-pounder and Yokozuna. But hey, nothing says starting off a pay-per-view hot like Yokozuna versus Savio Vega, right?
Yeah, we could have had Yokozuna versus Lex Luger opening this show, but that was the way that Yoko got to the quarterfinals in the first place, by count out. So reversing the 1993 SummerSlam decision here, tit for tat, full circle moment. Nate the effing great, take a shot.
Tit for tit.
And Cornette being the representation of Fuji, is that a rib? Because Fuji's a notorious ribber from back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got a USA chant going on in the ring for basically two Americans. Never change America, never change. And Yokozuna here, he is both instantly gassed, but he can still move as quick as a cat for being such a large man. He is still quite agile.
His little bursts that he has are super impressive, because obviously, I mean, he's 640 pounds. I'm assuming that's a shoot. That's what they said on commentary. And so you can only do so much, but whenever his timing's great, his selling's great, as good as it could be, I guess. And yeah, whenever he does little leg drops and suplexes, it all looks great. I'm a big Yokozuna guy.
And it looks really safe, much safer than someone else's leg drop later we see here soon.
Oh, God. But yeah, so and yeah, so this match happens. It's, again, like you said, Yokozuna's gassed most of this match, as is pretty much any Yokozuna match and in this point in his life. He slaps on a nerve hold, kind of just chills out for a bit. Savio has to do that a lot, selling rest holds for giant men in this show. That's a theme, a running theme that we'll get to more. But so Yokozuna, like you said, he goes for the leg drop, but misses, and this allows Savio to hit his comeback. So he's fired up. Savio, he hits the spinning heel kick again, and this causes Owen Hart to come out. Now at this point, Owen Hart and Yokozuna are tag team champions. Yes, that's a real thing. So Owen comes out to help his partner by attacking Razor Ramon, who I don't know if I mentioned, but Razor's out there with Savio. So Owen and Razor are going at it on the outside. And this causes Savio to go out and try to help his buddy Razor. And this causes Yoko to follow Savio. So everybody's on the outside tussling. And eventually Yoko goes for some sort of move, some sort of running something. But Savio evades, and Yoko goes headfirst into the ring post. Savio gets in the ring, and wouldn't you know it, a count out. Very that's how else are you gonna beat Yokozuna, I guess, especially someone like Savio Vega, who's very slight, at least compared to Yokozuna. So it's pretty much what you would expect, I guess. But yeah. Any other thoughts, little nuggets on this one?
It's just a way to keep Yokozuna looking strong, while at the same time, putting over this Quang-shaped particular fellow here. Why does Jim Cornette hate America if he's out there justifying the Japanese flag thing? I don't get it.
Is he not? Is he American? I thought he was Canadian.
No, if he was Canadian, we'd have a hockey stick and a flag, and maybe with a side of poutine and Timbits.
Right. Yes, he'd be out there with like you said, a hockey stick wrapped in a Canadian flag. Nobody would ever do that, though. That'd be too on the nose. TNA. But yes, go on.
Speaking of Achilles' heels, though,
Ugh.
the next promo was just. I love Jerry Lawler. I don't care what anyone says. He's a treasure, but he's saying that he will be Brett's Achilles' heel. That's on the nose.
Yeah, because it's a kiss my foot match coming up later in the show. It's King versus Bret Hart, and yeah, folks, do you get it? Achilles' heel, like a heel on a foot, but also like a weakness in a particular person. So really good wordplay.
Or a bad guy.
Yeah. But yeah, King's backstage. He's in the locker room. So he's like sitting on a bench, spraying his foot with, I guess, Lysol or something. And he has a sock on, but it has a hole in it, and his toes poking out of it. It's like purple. The sock's all dirty. Like I said, he's spraying it with Lysol. And he's this is like an interview with Vince, who's on commentary. And Vince McMahon has a zinger for him. He goes, "Oh man, King, I hear your locker room is reeking with stench." Commentary was at an all-time low in this show. I don't know if you got that impression, but holy fuck. Between him and Doc Hendricks.
It needed Art Donovan.
Hey, I'll tell you what. It wouldn't have made it worse. It would have at least had some semblance of entertainment. But it's, yeah. So to sum up, Jerry the King's Lawler's feet are stinky. So can't wait for that match coming up. I say that, but it's probably the highlight of the show, in all honesty. But it has Bret Hart in it, so, and King's no slouch, I suppose. But after that, we're keeping the red hot momentum going in this show with another quarterfinal match. So we got the Roadie versus Bob Sparkplug Holly, not Thurman Plug, Bob Sparkplug Holly. And I don't know what it is, but Bob Holly as like a white meat baby face just cracks me up watching it. Like in hindsight, it's like, like in the WWE like video games, you can like change the entrances of people. Have you seen those clips where people will like give the Big Show Melina's entrance?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I used to do that too.
Yeah. Who didn't? But that's how I feel watching Bob Holly with his mullet. He's come on, gang, clapping everybody's hands on the way to the ring, raising it. Oh, come on, we're gonna really show it to him, everybody. It's like, I need crotchety Bob. This isn't my Bob Holly that I grew up with.
Like that crotchety Bob right there.
Yes, the hardcore truth. I read that book, actually. Actually, I listened to it because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But it's a good one. It's a good one.
It is.
But yeah, we got the Road Dogg. So who at this point is Jeff Jarrett's Roadie. So he's going by Roadie, but he has a promo before this match, which I believe, unless I missed it at some point, I believe this is the first time he refers to himself as Road Dogg. It almost seemed like a kind of off the cuff thing, but he's like, the Road Dogg, or whatever he said. Doesn't matter. But so kind of a little foreshadowing to his future. But I mean, my main takeaway of this match is it's Michael Hayes on commentary, aka Doc Hendricks, and he's the heel commentator, right? So that means he has to shit on the babyface. And how do you shit on a race car driver? Well, you say he doesn't drive very good. Really got him, right?
You just say something like Richard Petty sucks, and then you get all the NASCAR.
See, that would have been a little clever, but Doc Hendricks is out there is like, oh, he's a good wrestler, but he can't drive very well. He's just crashing into walls all over the place. Oh. Fucking Michael Hayes. I can't stand that dude.
Oh, he'll get way worse.
Yeah, it doesn't get better. That's for sure. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, he hits the wall.
Yeah, he's the one that hits the wall.
Hits the wall all the time. That's what I had written down for one of the things on this match. It was good. Like, these two guys can go.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely some of the more competent workers on this card. It's a decent match. Nothing really to write home about. Nothing I'm ever going to watch again, probably. But it was fine for what it was. Ultimately, so the Roadie, he's laid out on the mat. Bob Holly goes to the top rope, flies off with a flying nothing. I don't really know what he's going for. But Roadie gets his foot up, and Bob Holly goes face first into his foot. Roadie makes the pin and gets the win. Gets the 1, 2, 3, which is it almost looked like a botch. I don't know if it was a botch or if Holly was just kicking out at 3.1, like one of those deals, but it seemed like the ref didn't think that was a finish. I didn't think it was a finish either, so who knows? But whatever the case may be, Roadie gets a big win here and moves on to the semifinals, which is, again, with all the talent that was in this tournament and that's on in the company at this point, Road Dogg in the semifinals of the King of the Ring is that's a sus decision in my opinion.
That is quite sus here. The hair in this match is on point. He got the dreadlocks. He got the glorious Kentucky waterfall. And if we had King Roadie here, I predict we could have had an early King of the Road match.
Ooh, well, no, this is after
Roadie.
This is after the King of the Road match. I guess it's a different company, so it means it didn't happen, right?
Yes, that's true. You succeeded somewhere else. Too bad.
Gonna have the opposite effect here.
Yeah, these two would have better matches. I think, spoiler alert, at the next In Your House, they have a singles match or a tag team match or something. And I'm going to say this. The way in which Roadie wins this, I think it's the next show, but it's a future match. Your jaw will drop. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, well, I'm on the edge of my seat. Let me tell you.
Let
me tell you. But yeah, so Roadie moves on, and we'll see what he amounts to later in the show. But before that, we have not the last one, but the next quarterfinal match in the King of the Ring tournament. We got Shawn Michaels versus the Supreme Fighting Machine, Papa Shango Godfather. So, Kama is out there, which, by the way, I got heat with Kama. I'm going to explain why. Because when I watch these shows, I do talk to text. It's just easier. When I say comma into my phone, it just puts a comma. So I have to go and fucking change it. It's so obnoxious. Like, anyways, Kama's out here, and he's wearing a gold necklace, a comedically thick and long gold necklace, and it was created because Kama melted down Undertaker's urn and made it into a necklace. So that's what we got there. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Kama and Undertaker, they have a heated issue going back to WrestleMania. Surely they'll meet up in the King of the Ring, because that would just make sense. Well, nope. We're going to go with Savio Vega instead, but we're not there yet. So Shawn Michaels versus Kama. And help me understand this moment that happened when Kama came out. So he comes out, and there's these two, I guess, fans of The Undertaker. They have, go for it. Explain to me.
Oh, they're plants here. Like, I remember this era quite well. There were these two plants. I think they were people who worked for the company. You know, much like the start of the show, we had the Stridex blimp flown by Kerwin Selfies, a little inside baseball for wrestling fans at the time. Kerwin Selfies being a former or current producer, writer, or something.
Yeah. Which
would also give a little bit of nod to Kerwin White, but if it's not, anyways, yeah, we're not touching that one. Yeah, they always had these two plants here because because the Undertaker's urn was melted down, I guess his powers were diminished or something. So he had support from Creatures of the Night, which I believe one of them, maybe at like SummerSlam or a different show, could have been Shane McMahon. But this guy wound up looking like something from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But I thought I don't watch the show, but I thought the one dude was the guy with the pale face from Star Trek. Trekkies, help me out here. Don't send me any hate DMs, please. It was that. It was the support from the Creatures, but also the WWE universe or the crowd is also the Creatures of the Night. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch here.
I see. Yeah, because they're out there and like they look like extras in The Walking Dead. Like they have the face paint. They're like zombies, and they're sitting out there like with like dead looks in their eyes. So it's like, okay, but it didn't play into the match at all, unless I missed it. So it's just a weird little moment there. I don't know. I guess you kind of explained it, but yeah, Sean's out there, and I didn't know. So this is my first time watching the show. I knew what the finals were, but I didn't know what happened leading up to it. So I didn't know who won this match. But I could tell just by Sean's mannerisms in the beginning that he was going to lose. Like he was like kind of fucking around in the beginning. Like he was like, you could tell he was like looking into the crowd for like women. Like he was like being very extra like diligent and like looking into the crowd. He was like dancing around like more so than he normally does. He's like making fun of Ted DiBiase's hair. He's like, yeah, I could tell it's probably his only match of the night. But that being said, it's Shawn Michaels, and he made this match damn good. I mean, better than it had any right being, I thought, at least. I should note that these quarterfinal matches have a 15-minute time limit. And so they're going at it. Shawn is he's recently returned from an injury, quote unquote, after getting power bombed several times by Sid. And it happened on Raw. He got stretchered out. It was a whole thing. So they're building this up like his ribs are still injured. So of course, Kama attacks the ribs throughout the match with like Irish whips into the corner, back breakers, all that. At one point, he rams Shawn into the ring post, because most of the matches is Kama just attacking the ribs with different holds and stuff. But at the end, time's starting to run out. It's like a 1 minute warning or whatever. The pace picks up. Both guys are desperately trying to get the win. Shawn Michaels ends up hitting a sunset flip, rolls up Kama, but the time expires right before the 3 count. So it is a time limit draw. So both guys are eliminated. And after the match, Kama tries to attack Shawn after the bell, but ultimately Shawn, it's like a sweet spot where Shawn like baseball slides under Kama's legs, pops up and hits a sweet chin music. Super smooth. But ultimately nobody wins this match, and both guys are eliminated from the tournament, which means that the winner of the winner of Mabel and Undertaker, they immediately go to the finals. So sets up that next match. But as far as this match here, what were your thoughts on it?
It was a damn good match. I mean, HBK and Kama here, they put on their working boots here, and HBK, he defeated King Kong Bundy, so you couldn't have the double positive of King Kong Bundy, you know, legend of Polk High School. Shout out if you get that reference. Smoking Joe Frazier was shown at ringside at the beginning of this match here, and
yes.
he was about to give the Monty Burns Award for excellence and give the definition of excellence here.
Of course.
Todd and HBK with their hair on point. Shawn's glasses. I mean, those heart-shaped friggin' things that everybody in my school wanted. Yeah,
all the little girls in my elementary school wore those. That's for sure.
My cousin who got me into wrestling, I think he had them. He would never be caught dead wearing them. Shout out to you, Johnny. But it was something I guess he collected because he's a bigger wrestling fan than I am. We're finally putting over the super kick because at this point Michaels has tried at least 3 different finishers before he actually stuck on one. He had the
backdrop. Yeah.
The backdrop teardrop suplex. He used the pile driver for a few in like 94,
Mhm.
And then around this time, he's finally putting over the super kick, and he's finally turning babyface, which allegedly Vince was dead set against for such a long time. But the coolness and the smarky nature of wrestling was starting to envelop this show, especially in the city that we're in, because we're going to hear a familiar chant later in the show, because this is when the crowd starts to turn on them just a little bit. But there's one more match. And when that match happens, they're just sabotaging the whole show.
Shawn Michaels was their last hope. There was like, okay, we got some shitty people moving on this tournament, but hey, we can at least have HBK in there to have some good matches. But nope, y'all almost had it. So yeah, after that, okay. Got Bob Backlund is here. He's not here. He's in the streets of Philadelphia. This is recorded earlier in the day. Can you go ahead and explain this segment to the people?
Well, he is running for president, much like Hulk Hogan ran for president in 98, leading up to his match with Jay Leno. That was a thing. He's just cutting Philly a new one. Like, there was something about Marion Barry, other crap about American history. I don't know. Obviously, in Canada here, I don't know. But then he grabs a Philly cheesesteak, this legendary, apparently delicious sandwich that, well, I haven't had the real thing because I've never been to Philly. Apparently, you use
it's a little overrated. Just gonna throw that out there.
You use Cheese Whiz instead of real cheese. Gross.
Hey,
so he's like,
don't knock it till you try it.
Okay. this cheesesteak, it's terrible. I'm gonna put a big carrot in it so you get your carotene and your vitamin D. This is what's wrong with America today. Just making America oh nope. Making Darren Young. Nope, hang on.
Making Darren Young great again.
This was glorious. Like, I love crazy Bob Backlund. This was next level.
You see, okay, so I was born in 93. Okay, so I obviously didn't live through the peak of Bob Backlund. But when I look at guys that were big back in the day, your Hogans, your Brunos, your all those guys, right? I can be like, I get it. Maybe it isn't fitting with the times of today, but I get how they were big back then. When I see Bob Backlund just fucking around here, he's putting carrots on cheesesteaks. He's doing his step-ups in the locker room. He's molesting Bret Hart with a chicken wing. Like, all these things that he's doing. It's like, how is this guy the biggest wrestler in the world he held the title for a couple of years, didn't he?
Yeah, he was champion for, I think, 3 or 4 years. There was a swap in there with Antonio Inoki. This is when Bob was like the white meat baby faces of white meat baby faces. He was hella over. So seeing him, a longtime fan, not me, because Bob Backlund wore the championship before I was even alive, would see this Bob Backlund coming back and like, oh, friggin' hell, right? Bob Backlund's coming back, and he's a complete psychopath.
Isn't it funny, watching this show? Bob Backlund was the WWF champion 6 months ago. For a day, I think, right? It was a day, but
at least 3
he was there. He was the world champion, which is, that's as transitional gets. But it's just funny to think about that. That's a real stat. He was world champion in 1994, but not as outlandish as the person that wins the King of the Ring, I guess. And he is present in this next match, the last quarterfinal match. Or I guess a semifinal in all reality, because of the previous draw. The winner of this match moves on to the finals. We got Undertaker versus Mabel. And Mabel comes out, and first of all, it's the shiniest fucking jacket I've ever seen in my life. Good Lord. Blinded by that thing. But yeah, you're picturing Undertaker and Viscera having a match. It is, you know what? It's probably a little better than I expected, to be honest. But this is also Mabel's first match, so he's not gassed quite yet, or at least not as gassed as he would become. But That being said, the match starts, and Mabel almost immediately botches a sidewalk slam, and then he he knocks Undertaker through the ropes, but Undertaker's feet get stuck between, was it the first and second rope? This is all within like the first minute of the match. I was like, good God, this is already a mess. But they fight. I don't know if this is supposed to happen or not, but it took him like a minute to get Undertaker's foot stuck or unstuck from the ropes. But he finally gets out. They start going at it in the ring. Mo, who of course is the men on a mission partner of Mabel, but he's here kind of in a manager capacity. Mo gets on the apron to distract the Undertaker, and this allows Mabel to hit a huge belly-to-belly suplex on the Taker. And then instead of going for a pin, he locks in. I don't know if it's the worst camel clutch I've ever seen or the most devastating, because Taker is prone on his face in the mat. Mabel, who's got to be at least 500 pounds, sits directly on Undertaker's back. This isn't a camel clutch where the guy's like doing a squat and wrenching back. Mabel just sits dead weight on Undertaker's back and just ranks his neck back. And also, and you mentioned this earlier, keep in mind, Undertaker doesn't have his urn, so he's less powerful. So, a little important factor in this match. But at some point, Mabel gets whipped into the ropes. Undertaker drops down, I guess, trying to back body drop Mabel. But Mabel counters into a pile driver for a 2 count. And for some reason, watching Mabel hit like a wrestling move like that, it just seems out of place to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I thought Mabel just kind of humped people into submission, but I guess we're not quite there yet. But we get a series of Irish whips. Undertaker ends up getting whipped into the referee, which knocks the referee out. Undertaker hits Mabel with a big clothesline and then a choke slam, but the ref is out, so he can't make the pin. So with the ref down, this allows Kama to get in the ring, attacks Undertaker from behind with a kick. Just one kick to the back. Then Mabel hits a leg drop, brother, for the win over the Undertaker. So, yeah, I'm sure at the time, very shocking victory that Mabel got, who just a month or two ago was just wave your hands in the air, like all that shit. Now he's here beating the Undertaker on a pay-per-view. So crazy stuff, huh?
Yes. I wanted to put something before this match here. We had the Spanish commentary here, Hugo Savinovich, the former heel manager in NWA. You'll see why if you listen to my show.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that was quite jarring to see Hugo there that early. And then once they saw Ray Rougeau on the French side, I immediately broke out into From Montreal to Memphis, the Rougeau Brothers theme song from the 80s. Just a glorious slice of wrestling cheese from back in the day here. But there's one thing Mabel impressed me in this match with. It was with that friggin' wheel kick he did. He just rolls on his shoulders and just hoist Taker right in the face.
He would do that throughout his entire career, and it impresses me every time I see it.
That's about as impressive as, Big Show hitting a missile drop kick.
Yeah.
That is something else here. And Mabel, I didn't realize how tall he actually was. He's like nose and nose with Taker. He's like 6'9", just outrageously huge. And there's one name here that we haven't talked about yet, but there's this young lady that interviewed Mabel on the way to the ring. And that was one Stephanie Wyand.
Of course.
This is a Stephanie Wyand appreciation show. So I gotta give a shout out to her here. I love that Pettingill like name dropped her at In Your House this past year. If anyone caught that, that was that was perfect. I love Taker's entrance, had that eerie like chill wind sound effect from Ocarina of Time. It added so much to, I think, his character, to his theme, to his lost powers.
He has a great mystique at this point in his career.
And I think it gets even better with Mankind coming into the picture next year.
Oh, yeah.
Making Taker vulnerable, which they did a good job of here. Mabel's straight up sitting on him, just that was rude. Like much like he did the Diesel at SummerSlam and almost broke his spine.
How could you not?
Mo, he had shaggy levels of "it wasn't me" to the referee, being just trying to be as innocent as he possibly can, but they caught him on the counter or on the apron. It wasn't me. Ref bump meant shenanigans, and that was the weakest reversed super kick I've ever seen in my life by Kama.
Oh, it was even. I don't even know if I'd call it a super kick. It was like a like Undertaker was on his knees or sitting down, and Kama just kicks him in the back, like a kind of like a PK, I guess, but just like a normal one that you'd see, like a transitional kick, but it like laid Undertaker out completely.
Or a graze even.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got Mabel moving on to the finals. This tournament just keeps getting better, and yeah, and like you said, this is around the time where the crowd was starting to lose interest, I guess. We're not quite at the chant part yet, but rapidly approaching it. And it sets up a Kama Undertaker match in the future. Is it the next In Your House where that happens?
SummerSlam.
God, they're dragging this out from WrestleMania to SummerSlam for Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine.
They'll drag out a Mabel feud too. Well, because the injury, everyone talks about, okay, when Taker went, you'll see Taker with a different look later this year. You've probably already seen
the mask.
The Phantom Taker, which was just a perfect look for him. It wasn't the leg drop from some random episode of Raw, but it was a house show. It was an errant clothesline, just caught him right in the face and just broke it in half.
Jeez. Was it from Mabel?
It was from Mabel. It was an errant lariat.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be? I don't know if that would put Mabel in the Hall of Fame, but speaking of the Hall of Fame,
oh yes,
the next segment here is a recap of the Hall of Fame banquet, which I guess occurred, was it the day before or a few days before or something like that?
Yeah, it was a day or two before.
Yeah, this is when the Hall of Fame was like a more intimate, like it was a banquet. It was like a dinner, which I kind of like. What did you think about that versus what we have now, which is like in stadiums?
Well, I like the more intimate setting because I think it makes the speeches better. It doesn't let a fan come and attack someone when you're trying to put your friggin' speech on.
Yep.
And like the last one I think that did that may have been when Austin went in, but my favorite memory of the Hall of Fame takes place way after this. This is a hell of a class, and I have something to say about one of the parts of the show here. Bobby Heenan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the man couldn't speak, and he was just still cutting everybody up.
Yeah.
It was so damn good. It was so heartbreaking too, because he eventually lost the ability to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that just draws some parallels with over time. That's, my father also he couldn't speak clearly. And it's even when he passed, it was like that too. So it's just, it drew a lot of parallels, and it reminded me a lot of some stuff, but I love this class. I love Bill Murray.
What? Nobody asked for Bill Murray riding an elephant to induct George the Animal Steele. That's not why I turned this show on, but it happened.
And then he challenges him to a match. Well, George Steele worked with Bill Murray on, oh man, that this movie's going to escape me, because George Steele had a movie. It was like in black and white. It was kind of like a Alfred Hitchcocky kind of thing here. Someone's going to send me a really nasty DM about it, because Ed Wood. There it is. They're in, was it Ed Wood? Yeah. Anyways, Bill Murray's, he's cutting a promo, and he should challenge the winner of the King of the Ring here, because he is cutting one hell of a promo, challenging George Steele to a steel cage match or something.
My favorite part is when, because Bill Murray's talking, right? He's just talking normal on the elephant. He's like, yeah, sorry, I couldn't be there. I missed my cab, or whatever he said. And then he starts cutting the promo, and you can hear him like shift into wrestling promo talk. He's like, George Steele, I'll meet you and the steel kit. Like, oh, it's 95, I guess, but watching it today, it's like, geez, cringe. But some people enjoyed it, I suppose.
Oh yeah. The rest of the class here was pretty impressive. I mean, you had Big Cat Ernie Ladd, redacted female wrestler here, Polish Power Ivan Putski, with his son, future WWE star Scott in the background. You'll notice George Steele, Pedro Morales was supposed to get a spot here, one of the former Intercontinental Champions, inaugural wrestlers in the WWF. But since he was the Spanish commentator in WCW, Savio took it on his behalf for reasons.
Yeah. Did
Puerto
they
Rican
ever?
reasons, I guess.
He's vaguely Latino. Throw him out there. They're the same.
I think they're both Puerto Rican, but
I don't know. Vince probably didn't care. He probably said, hey, someone speaks Spanish. That'll be good enough. But let me ask you a question. Are you a big fan of the Grand Wizard?
Grand Wizard, that's a name I'm familiar with. I can't say I'm a fan, but I enjoyed some of his stuff. Big heel manager.
I hope you're talking about the wrestler and not the the leader of the KKK.
Oh shit, that's right. I blanked there for a minute. Okay, let's just.
I was trying to get a soundbite of you saying, "Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Grand Wizard."
Oh shit! Cancel threats. Hashtag.
I saw this. I've heard of the Grand Wizard before, but for some reason, when I heard it on this show, I was like, "Wait, that's." I don't know which came first. This is a chicken and the egg scenario, but I don't know if I want that omelet. But
reminded me of that part in Red Dead 2.
Which part?
When I stuck. Oh, have you played Red Dead 2 yet?
I have, yes.
Okay, have you beaten it?
The main story, yes.
So it's just something I literally stumbled across. I was on horseback going through the fields in I forget, outside of Valentine or something like that. And then I'm just like, I hear some commotion and I see like a bonfire in the distance. I'm like, I'm gonna hop off my horse. I'm gonna sneak in here. I'm like, I look in. It's like, shit, it's a clan meeting.
Oh yeah.
So I stood there in the background, like, I got a pipe bomb, hoy it in there and take off. And then, oh shit, despite the fact I killed a bunch of fucking racists, I'm still wanted for murder.
Can't do that. Can't do that in the Wild West, I suppose.
I guess.
Yeah, don't you get like an opportunity? You can either kill them or like join them or something.
I didn't even get to a cutscene where they would start talking, because I immediately also thought about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot where Chris Jericho plays the Grand Wizard. And just a mess. That was a good one.
So Savio and Rhodey. So this is a quarterfinal match. Is it quarterfinal or semifinal? No, semifinal, right? Yeah. I totally didn't even put that in my notes. I forgot about it, but it is what it is. So Savio, this is his third match of the show, facing off against Roadie. And I think it's at this point in the show, the crowd's looking at the people in the ring is like, why? We could have had Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels. We could have had British Bulldog versus The Undertaker. But nope. Got Savio and Rhodey. Jeff Jarrett's out there. So Jarrett's on the apron. Rhodey goes to hit Savio. Savio evades. Rhodey stops himself to not hit Jarrett, but gets rolled up. And Savio gets the win, his third win of the night. So yeah, Rhodey is a decent match. Again, nothing like that I would like recommend somebody go out of their way to see, but especially in the context of this show, maybe one of the better matches, but pretty short as well. But yeah, what'd you think about it?
It was short and sweet. Again, you have two people here with their working boots on, and Savio Vega pulling the Rocky Balboa. But hey, spoiler alert, Rocky loses in the first one, so why are you portraying Rocky Balboa? You should be doing Rocky versus Thunderlips here. I mean, come on, the booking's right there. And this is where I note that the Road Dogg name has first kind of dropped at this point, which started giving creative, I think, a little bit of, I wonder what would happen if Jeff Jarrett and Rhodey spent their days working hard on the go.
Do you think that's how that came up? Just organically popped up in their minds?
Oh, I think so. I mean, you're almost there. Oh, that concert. Wow, you're going to enjoy that. But
I can't wait.
I forget who it was, but I think Roadie hits the worst neck breaker this side of the honkometer in this match. It was just so sloppy.
Yeah. He's learning. He's relatively new to the game at this point.
He's learning here. We had Roadie with the flying nothing. Afterwards here, this is where a line that we talked about earlier. Doc Hendricks. Translating Spanish for Savio. Now, I took one Spanish class in high school after taking a French class. Very similar verbiage in both these languages.
Yeah.
So I can't beat Mabel. I'm going to quit stealing hubcaps.
Do you think that's what Savio said?
I think he said, make Darren Young great again.
Oh, okay. You see, you would know more than I. You're more fluent in that language than I am. So
no, 9 years of taking French in school, and I still don't know a damn thing. Yeah, we have to take French up here in Ontario. It's not fun.
You're not born knowing French? I thought that's how it worked in Canada.
No, it works like that in Quebec, but not in Ontario. As soon as you hit Quebec, you get all of the signs are in French first. Like you go to a Loblaw store in Toronto, you'll get the can of Campbell's soup with the English first. Mm-hmm. Not in Montreal. No, and don't walk around. If you're a Maple Leafs fan like I am, don't walk around the city of Montreal with a Leafs jersey from one end of the city to the other. Don't ask me why I know this.
Oui, right?
How about a neck? More like.
But yeah, so Savio moves on to the finals, sets up a big match to get the crowd nice and hot. We got Mabel versus Savio later in the show. But before that, Kiss My Foot match. Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler. And man, so this is probably the most built up match on the show. When I say built up, I mean on Raw, you have Jerry Lawler on commentary with like a fake foot and it has like purple toes and he's like, oh, look how smelly this foot is. That's how my foot's going to be smelling in this Kiss My Foot match. It's going to be very smelly. That Jerry Lawler. He's just, the hijinks never stops with him. But it's a Bret Hart match after all. So it's going to be at least good. And it was good for what it was. My main takeaway here is Bret's selling is like on a completely different level. I mean, there was just like a run of the mill, like Lawler had Bret by the head in the ring and did the whole thing where he like rams his head into the turnbuckle, but Bret goes head for, I don't know if you caught this. It like went through the turnbuckle, I almost ripped it off with how much he like bashed his head into it. I mean, his selling throughout the whole match was great. But yeah, match continues on. King hits a pile driver, the classic Memphis pile driver. Doesn't go for the pin, hits a second one, then finally pins Bret, but Bret kicks out. But some point in this match, well, first of all, so Lawler takes his boot off, exposing his smelly feet or smelly foot. Again, toes sticking out of the sock. Socks all gray and purple. And so Lawler takes his boot off and hits Bret in the face, which I ask, why not just kick him? Right? Is my physics off, or would it just hurt more if he just kicked him? But he's
more effective.
He's the pro wrestler here. It's at this point where Hot Coochie and Shinja come out, and who are like the hired assassins of Jerry Lawler at this point. So they try to come out to help King. But Shinja accidentally hits King, and Bret capitalizes and locks in the sharpshooter. Jerry Lawler taps out. So Jerry Lawler loses, Bret Hart wins, and now Jerry Lawler has to kiss the foot of Bret Hart. Oh, how dastardly! But he's not gonna do it willingly. So Hakushi, Shinja, they try to attack Bret after the bell, but Hakushi springboards off the top rope and accidentally hits King. So these guys are the worst backup ever because they're just kicking the shit out of King. But so that knocks King out, and this allows Bret to beat up on King a little more, knocks him out, and takes his boot off, takes his sock off, and forces Lawler to like deep throat his foot. I mean, they went after it. This wasn't a peck on the toe. This his half his damn foot was in Lawler's mouth, which had to be not the best, but yeah, agony of defeat is how I'd describe this. Yeah.
That was better than my foot and mouth disease pun.
Well, I stole it from Doc Hendricks, who mentioned it after the match. I had to recap the magic that is Doc Hendricks on the commentary. But yeah, agony of defeat. What are your thoughts?
I may or may not have been drinking during this match,
don't blame
so
you.
I didn't catch it, and I just wrote down, "Dear God, Brett, save this effing pay-per-view."
Crowd was hot for him.
King uses, and yeah, Brett can do that in his sleep. That turnbuckle bump, Brett does that in everything. Just goes in like chest first, and he did a bump like that to the outside of the ring against, I think, Dino Bravo, and he broke his sternum and continued the match.
Oof.
And you saw, if you've seen Wrestling with Shadows, he talks about that with his son. Just absolutely rough. The commentators here treat this match as if Brett's career is over if he loses.
Of course.
Because it would be just like the defeat would be so humiliating that he would go into hiding and just go in a cave in North Vancouver and just live in there for the rest of his life.
I don't know if you caught this, but King's feet are very smelly. So
very smelly indeed. Hakushi and Shimja here, they're the worst bumbling sidekicks than Balkan's. They're the Balkan skull of this match.
Yeah,
we just do the bum, 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 just when they're bumbling throughout this whole thing.
Yep.
Hakushi turns face after this, and I think as a result of this, because he would be associated with like 1-2-3 Kid, Bob Holly, as we go on throughout the rest of the year. Brett hitting his 4 moves of doom, the Brett's rope elbow drop, shout out OSW review. And then the foot part, to give Jerry Lawler credit for him to be able to kiss his own foot,
yes,
forcibly, that earns all my respect, because I have a fused spine, right? I had scoliosis, so I got metal up in there. I can't touch my own damn toes. But it's always impressive when I see that, and I'm glad that this is the only kiss my foot match in history.
Is it?
That was the joke.
Oh.
Michael Cole.
I was I knew I didn't know who it was, but I was like, wait a minute, is he's joshing, isn't he?
Yeah, I blocked Michael Cole from my memory, so I'm glad that was the only kiss my foot match.
Right. Yeah, of course. It never happened again. But yeah, I'm with you. I was super impressed when King, because I totally forgot about that. Yeah, after Brett makes King kiss his foot, Brett gets down and like pretzels Jerry Lawler and his own foot in his own mouth, which I was like, I didn't think he was that flexible, but props to King here. A flexible little boy. But yeah, so Brett wins. So now his career is not over, in the words of the commentator. It's off to the races. But yeah, so we got after that, got the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. Mabel versus Savio Vega. Again, we had Shawn Michaels, we had Luger, Bulldog, Owen Hart, Undertaker, Mantar, but nope. The 2 we select, or no, well, the 2 that make it to the finals are Mabel, are the man on a mission, and the random Puerto Rican that just debuted a month ago. So, and I get what they're going for. You kind of brought it up earlier. I don't know if you caught this, but they're in Philly, right? And there's this movie called Rocky that happened. I don't know if you caught it.
Dun, 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 dun.
That precise one. So it's like what, a Rocky story or something, right? Adrian. I would have preferred Adrian out here. She couldn't have made it worse. So this is the point. So we got Mabel So just try to put yourself in the perspective of a wrestling fan going to see a show in 1995. Like, oh, I want to go see like the people I just named. You're out here, and the marquee match is a tag team guy who can barely move at this point because he's had a match and he's gassed versus Quang. Fucking Quang. And like I said, I get what they're going for. How Savio, he's like I guess like a working class type of guy. He's out there in jeans and a tank top. He's not ripped by any means, not in comparison to the other wrestlers. He looks like a normal guy, but he looks like a guy that just hopped the barricade and is wrestling pretty much. And he's facing off against Mabel, who probably outweighs him by at least 2 or 3 times. And not only that, but Savio at this point, this is Savio's 4th match. This is only Mabel's 2nd match. So that's another layer of the hill that Savio has to climb, like literally. So really stacking the deck against Savio here. And I get they're in Philly, Rocky story, underdog, Kenny overcome. I get it, but like, why is Savio like? Actually, I'll ask you this, because Savio's ultimately he's there because Razor went down with injury. Do you think had Razor not gone down with injury, that Razor would have just taken Savio's spot in this whole thing?
Absolutely. I still think Mabel would have won, but like 94, Razor would have went to the finals and ultimately lose to the winner. Razor's injuries were legit because just before this event, him and Jeff Jarrett traded the Intercontinental title back and forth in separate ladder matches in Quebec house shows. And Razor won it one night, and then Jeff Jarrett just like yoink won it back the next night. But it was those matches that legit messed up Razor's ribs.
Yeah.
So Razor, I think, he could have won, but again, no offense to Xavier Woods, one of my favorite King of the Ring winners, other than Owen and Brett. The King gimmick, I think, is better suited to a heel.
Yeah.
Better suited to except for Sheamus didn't really run with it, although that crown he wore was absolutely amazing. William Regal's was kind of cut off because of wellness policy. That was a damn shame because his gimmick, because he's actually British, it would have worked so well.
Yeah. What could have been?
King Razor, like, you don't really do much with the King gimmick at this point in time. Like, you get a crown, but King, what's his name? King Antonio Montana with a big pile of cocaine and a crown. Actually, that's a pretty cool visual.
I could see that. But yeah, with the King gimmick, you can either go one of 2 ways, in my opinion, for it to be successful. Either do option 1, which is go all in with it, like make it ridiculous, aka King Booker, who I think is only, really, in my opinion, the only guy that's made that work. Because if you half-ass it, aka King Corbin, who just like would come out with a crown and a cape, he's like, I'm the king, but then would just talk like he normally does. Wade Barrett, Sheamus, even like Owen Hart, he didn't really run with it either. He was kind of, but he did the whole King of Hearts thing, which is kind of cool, I guess. But the King of the Ring tournament also serves, at least at this point, has served as a way, because the winner gets I don't know if it's like a formal thing, but the winner would get a title shot at SummerSlam. Owen Hart did.
Not quite.
Well, Owen Hart did last year and Mabel did this year. So I don't know if it may not be like, exactly, but at least at this era, that's kind of, it seemed like that's what they wanted.
It was kind of a coincidental thing. Like, they never really mentioned that, oh yeah, the winner's going to get a title shot at SummerSlam. And now look at the other future winners. Let's see who got a title shot at SummerSlam. 96. Stone Cold was in the free-for-all with Yokozuna. 97. Triple H had a banger of a cage match with Mick Foley. 98. Ken Shamrock. Was Ken Shamrock even at SummerSlam 98? I don't think he was. Billy Gunn didn't happen, so let's just scratch that out of existence. Kurt Angle was in the title. Okay, Kurt Angle got a title match at SummerSlam. Edge got the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam. Then at 2002, the last proper King of the Ring pay-per-view, it was like, okay, now Brock's getting a title shot.
That's at SummerSlam. So it's a good percentage. And if it's not always a title shot at SummerSlam, it's always like, okay, we're going to do something with this guy. And not in every case did it pan out. But there was a good period of time where the King of the Ring was a big deal. And like I said, last year, Owen Hart won it, and it was in the world title picture. And Mabel, same thing. I fully believe that they wanted Mabel to be in the world title picture after this show.
They wanted to be champion.
Well, what could have been? Big Daddy V as WWF champion. Could have been good.
As the first black champion, Mabel.
Ooh. Yeah, I guess, right? WWF champion, at least. But yeah, so Mabel versus Savio Vega. Not one solitary person in that arena gave a flying fuck about this match. It was
ECW.
silent until that ECW chant, which caught me off guard. Like I'd never seen this match, but I was like, oh shit, that is that's a thing. And it was loud. It wasn't a smattering of people. It was probably one of the biggest chants of the night.
Vince acknowledged it too. Like, oh, listen to this. But then you see long hair glasses guy. You see the ECW crowd that you've been seeing in your shows with. I think you just had HC Loke on that. Awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
You see your ECW faithful. You don't see friggin' who is that guy that just had his documentary canceled? Vlad. By the way, why the shit would you cancel that? That was awesome.
Couldn't tell you.
But you saw recognizable faces, and then you're like, oh no, they're just gonna sabotage the shit out of this. And they do.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Mabel at this point, he's dripping. He locks in this bear hug onto Savio, which look, you have Mabel, like you said, he's 6'9" or something. Savio Vega can't be over 6 foot tall, maybe at 6 feet at the most. You would think Mabel would pick him up for the bear hug. But what does he do? He bends over at the hips, not even like a crouch, not even like a squat. He unathletically just holds him. Savio has to sell this. So Savio's standing there like a zombie trying to sell this shitty ass bear hug. And he locks in a headlock. It's kind of a similar deal. Crowd is not having this. They're not really booing. They're not like outside of the ECW chant. They aren't like sabotaging the match per se. They're just not interested. But how could you be? But so Razor's out there with Savio. Maybe the saving grace, perhaps. Razor's out there. He's like pounding on the mat, trying to, clapping, trying to get the crowd into it. And I forget if it's Doc or Vince on commentary, but they say Razor's trying to get the crowd into it. I mean, well, they're already into it, but they're sad because Savio's getting beat up. It's like they like acknowledge that nobody cares about this, which is funny. Savio hits his heel kick, which is kind of at this point established as his finisher. Crowd kind of wakes up for it for the 2 count. Savio almost gets the win here. But Savio, like I said, this is his 4th match, so he can't really capitalize on the move. So it takes him a while to pin and all that. But the Mabel just hits the world's strongest slam, followed by a splash, and gets the 1, 2, 3. So King Mabel is here, folks. King Mabel.
Oh boy.
Thoughts?
Okay, so I had a childhood obsession with Mabel.
Oh boy.
Because I was a casual fan. I was watching Superstars the odd time, and I thought Men on a Mission were pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed them. And then when they kicked Oscar out of the group, I'm like, okay, I'm 10, 11 years old at this point, so I'm conditioned to boo who the TV says.
Yeah.
I even booed Bret Hart when he was anti-American. Don't at me.
Wait, hold on.
Here's the thing, because the TV said,
okay,
and I was a huge mark, and I was like 13, 12 years old.
A huge Canadian mark, right? Right.
Yeah, but I did like when he ripped the States when he was in Canada, calling it a toilet bowl. That was fun.
That's fair.
Yeah, and it's like he'd put the bowl like where the turds go in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, I get it. So Mabel here, like when he turned heel, he was my go-to target for me playing either fake wrestling with the pillows or fake wrestling with my Legos, because I used to build steel cage matches out of Lego.
Hell yeah.
I used to love doing that. And I'm like, okay, it's Frets versus King Mabel here. I'm this 200-pound soaking wet cruiserweight giving him the power bomb. Yeah,
You're strong.
Yeah,
Powerhouse.
Weird kid I was. But I'll give this part here credit because he had Savio being resilient, and Mabel didn't really have a bona fide finisher at this point. He was either using the Uranagi or the World's Strongest Slam or the second rope assisted splash with Mo. But you got Savio kicking out of two devastating moves that Mabel used as finishers, kicks out of the strong slam, then Mabel's like, nah, sod ya, pal, you're done. Splash for the win. But yeah, I put the hate on for Mabel. I've always had a soft spot for him after this, especially as the world's largest love machine, because that was just glorious. Him and Lillian Garcia.
Yeah, I've always loved his like Mabel, Viscera, Big Daddy V. I've always been drawn to him for whatever reason. Even at this point, like I were kind of dogging it a little bit, but like heel Mabel was kind of he had a cool presence about him. It was like the music. Mo with him, I thought really enhanced the act. And then you obviously have this big giant mountain of a man, Mabel, with the blonde mohawk. I thought it was kind of a cool presentation. Maybe an execution didn't match up. But honestly, it's a new generation after all. And I don't really blame them trying something. Because Mabel, you look at him, he's this big bastard. He made the new Yokozuna, I guess. Like 150 pounds lighter than Yokozuna. So hey, let's try this guy out. He's pretty charismatic too. He speaks English, unlike, well, I guess Yoko does, but his character doesn't. So I don't necessarily blame him with going with Mabel here, but yeah, it's just like I said, the execution of it probably wasn't what they wanted, to say the least.
And they could have put him against a baby face that was a little bit more over, because to the new generation crowd, Savio was a brand new face, but if you're a bit more smarky, you would know, oh, that's just Quang without his mask.
Yeah. It's not,
which is, well,
it's not like Quang was over either. So it's like,
no, Quang was barely on Action Zone, let alone Superstars and Raw.
Yeah.
But
the martial artist,
hence, with Karate Fighters, just wait till you get there. Karate Fighters presents. I love those. I want to find those things now. They were freaking awesome.
No, you don't.
Yeah, maybe, but man, just the core. I'm going into the coronation here. This was the longest, worst, most drawn out coronation ever.
Why did it last so long?
Padding for time. Even Mabel's sitting on the throne, and Mo's just going on like, "Hear ye!"
Padding for time. We just watched Mabel hug Savio Vega for 20 minutes. How much more time do you need?
Enough time to coronate 72 kings, because Mo goes on here for like 37 minutes. 37, just absolute. I got fast forwarded. I got sick of it. I don't know.
Oh no, I sat in it. I marinated in this bullshit. You got Mabel. So yeah, obviously Mabel, he gets the robe. It's not a scepter, it's a sword, which is fine, I guess.
Awesome.
Terrifying watching that mountain of a man hold up this huge, is bigger than Drew McIntyre's sword. But and then he sits in the throne, and then you have Mo unrolls the scroll. And I'm like,
the longest scroll of all time.
And I'm like, oh, it's it's comedically big. I get it. It's funny. But no, it's quite literally just it's full of words, apparently, because Mo is droning on for, like you said, the hear ye, like for, oh God. And then he keeps, I don't even know what he said, but it was kind of just king stuff. Bow down to your king, Mabel. And so yeah, it was probably good on paper again, but yeah, you could have sped it up a little bit.
Good on paper that got thrown at Mabel.
Yeah, people are throwing shit at him.
I'm quoting OSW for the second appearance in a row. Some accurate cunt just wallops him right in the face.
Clocks him.
I think I sent you that gif. Just plows him. Oh, that's so mean. Don't do that at wrestling shows, people. Like, I know it's heat. I mean, you'll get there with the NWO era.
Mhm.
That's just like I'm a former janitor, and seeing that ring after an NWO segment triggers.
That's such a funny, like, you just get bothered when you see trash on the floor wherever you go. What a life.
I'm bothered by it. I see trash on the floor. Like, okay, I missed the garbage with my Kleenex just now. I'm like, fuck, it's all the way over there. It's bothering
Start
me.
sweating bullets. But yeah, so Mabel's your king. Everybody's happy.
And Mo was knighted as a sir.
Sir Mo. But yeah, getting thrown trash at him. I guess in the moment, it's probably a good thing because you're like, hey, I got heat, brother. But you know,
that's that's worse than X-Pac heat. That's like that's changed the channel heat, and this whole time they're all still chanting EC Dub.
Yeah,
during this coronation, or chanting like EC Dub Philly cheesesteak or whatever you do in Philly. Shout out Scott Rand.
That's what they do in Philly. They just chant for Philly cheesesteaks.
I imagine so, because you go to like MJF's homecoming at like Dynamite last night at time we're recording this, which was just glorious. You'll chant anything in Long Island, even anything inappropriate.
Then after that, we got more Jerry Lawler. Because I know you were like, hey, I know that King of the Ring, that whole debacle was pretty awful, but maybe Jerry Lawler can save the show. And so he's back, vomiting into a sink in the bathroom of the arena, a comedic amount of vomit just exploding out of his mouth. He's got floss, he's got mouthwash, he's got toothpaste, so Lawler, because remember, folks, he just kissed Bret Hart's feet, which apparently and his own, which both are very smelly. Aren't we having fun? So Lawler is back there trying to get the taste out of his mouth. He chugs like half a bottle of Listerine, and then takes the toothpaste and just like bukkakis himself with it. Like that's so much, so much toothpaste. Like it can't. How bad could your mouth taste like where you need that much toothpaste?
After getting garlic parmesan wings on a date.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why.
What a poor decision on your part. But what a sequence of events. So we have Mabel winning King of the Ring. We have Jerry Lawler puking in a bathroom. Now we have what everybody paid to see is a Sid promo.
Yes. Oh,
he's I'm the master of disaster. Diesel. I'm gonna fuck your mouth. Or whatever he said. But anyways.
I powerbombed you on your elbow. It goes crash, snap. oh crap. It's like, let's just stay. It moved me to a bigger house. I said the loud part, the quiet part about it.
I could watch Sid just talk all day. That's what this show should have been. It should have been 2.5 hours of Sid talking.
I'd pay for that. I would pay for that on Cameo, no matter the cost. Sid is the namesake of my then cat. That's how much I loved Sid in the day. Yeah. Even going back to Sid Justice.
Were you more of a Sid Justice or a Psycho Sid?
Oh, Psycho Sid, 100%. I mean, hitting Jose Lothario with a camera, powerbombing Shawn Michaels, powerbombing Jose Lothario's kid through a bench. Love it. Having half the brain that Kevin Nash does, the Millennium Man, the streak he went on.
He's just gold throughout his entire career. But he's back there, and of course, he's a part of the $1 Million Corporation. So Tatanka and Ted DiBiase are back there with him. basically just building up to the main event here. And but one thing I did note, so at In Your House 1, the previous pay-per-view, was Mother's Day. And Kevin Nash's mother died like a few days before. And he referenced it on the show because of his Mother's Day and everybody's like wishing their mothers well and stuff. This was like a month after Diesel's mother passed away. And Sid, he's like, well, I forget exactly how he worded it, but he was like, "Oh, I know when you were a child, you hugged your mother for comfort. Who you gonna hug now? Bam Bam Bigelow." That's my best Sid impression. I don't know if that enhanced it or not, but it was a rough one. But he's a heel, so fuck him, I guess. So that brings us to the main event. It's a tag team match. It's not for a title. It's not for any kind of stakes, but it's Sid and Tatanka versus Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow. So I only had one note for this match because nothing happened. My one note, here it is. Bam Bam shoots fire out of his hands. That's pretty cool. What else you got?
Bam Bam almost James Hetfields himself with that pyro.
Yeah, what? Didn't he like point it down at some point?
I don't know, but he almost got like engulfed like James Hetfield did in that one concert, or like Undertaker when he was walking through the pyro to get to an elimination chamber and had second-degree burns.
Didn't his like jacket catch on fire or something?
Yeah, his jacket catches on fire. It melts and it just holy crap. And okay, Bam Bam's jacket here.
It's pretty cool. It's like fire, right?
It's like fire because he used to say, "I'm gonna set you on fire." All right. And if you played the WrestleMania arcade game at this point in time,
that was my first ever video game. Fun fact.
Nice.
It was a great one. Bam Bam Bigelow.
Versus Bam Bam Bigelow and Bam Bam Bigelow. Yes. I'm gutted that there was apparently mocaps captured for Adam Bomb, and he was supposed to be in that game, but by then he was out. Would have been cool, but yeah, going for the Intercontinental title in a Mortal Kombat mirror match. I get it. You're going for the midway Mortal Kombat feel here. Mm-hmm. Damn good game, but the combos were atrocious.
Never caught that one.
And in a time where I didn't have the internet, I couldn't figure out how to do a damn thing. I just press buttons.
Figure it out.
But this match was nothing. I had the headbutt on Sid, the ref being distracted, Sid hitting a really nice super choke slam, and the selling point of this match was Diesel's elbow being a crush, snap, by a powerbomb by Don't Call Me Psycho Sid, despite the fact he was coming out to the Psycho wee theme.
But he's not a psycho. That was actually one part of the match I did like, was when they were fighting on the outside and the crowd was chanting Psycho at him, and Sid was like entranced by like, "Don't call me psycho." Like, that was a little character part of it that I did like about it.
And then he eventually embraced it, like when he returned. But you had Diesel, who is selling an injured elbow, by the way. I'm not giving the Roman Reigns fisting thing here, but he used an elbow drop to finish this match, and he has a hurt elbow. I don't know if it was his good one, but why? Sid walks out of this match because I guess softball season's starting up, and he's just like,
that's probably it.
Just plugging away. And we don't see Sid's still on the show. He might be on Raw and Action Zone, but I don't think he's on pay-per-view until at least Survivor Series at this point. Maybe In Your House.
Yeah,
but he walks out, and then just a casual elbow drop on Tatanka wins this main event match. No jackknife.
Well,
no flying headbutt.
So what happened? So Diesel did give the jackknife to Tatanka, but like a minute or two went by before he hit so what happens is Diesel hits the jackknife on Tatanka. He goes to pin him, but then Diesel pulls him up to stop the pin because he wants he wants Sid. So he waves like, "Hey Sid, hey buddy, why don't you come on into this here ring?" But Sid says, fuck that. And he gets off the apron and then walks out on Tatanka. And Diesel's looking at him. Is like, well, I guess you're gone. I might as well win this here pay-per-view main event. Like you said, just drops a not people's elbow onto Tatanka, who was still laid out from the jackknife. That gives him the win. So, but yeah, I agree. Definitely a weird, weird finish to it.
It was like a Survivor Series match where you get like one guy winning with the sidewalk slam and the next guy winning with like a walking splash. It was a very anticlimactic finish to otherwise anticlimactic show, but we're building towards Sid versus Diesel again. They have another match at In Your House too. Just wait till you get to that one.
Oh, can't wait. Which elbow do you think was better? Diesel's in this match or Mabel's timid second rope elbow that he hit in his I guess it was after the match, right? Onto Razor Ramon.
I'd have to go for a wild card here and say McMahon's version of the People's Elbow or something like that.
Well, that wasn't on this show, damn it. But they were both trash, so none of them win. But so yeah, Diesel, Bam Bam, they win, and lots of pyro, sending the crowd home whelmed, not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, but probably underwhelmed actually. But
pissed.
Yeah, that's how the show ends. So I guess ending on a semi high note because the crowd did enjoy Diesel. They were into at least the finish of this match, but yeah, the tournament was just full of jobbers. No world title match, no intercontinental title match, no tag title match. You have 4 Savio Vega matches. Like there was a lot of thumbs downs on this show. But overall, I guess, what were your thoughts on King of the Ring 95?
Let me direct you towards Titan Sinking by James Dixon. It's a great. There's a trilogy here, a whole trilogy. One of them is even penned by Cultaholics Justin Henry. Shout out to them as well. And this is also a bit of Meltzer talking here. To the surprise of no one, King of the Ring was panned mercilessly by fans and critics alike. Most concurred that it was the worst pay-per-view that the group had ever presented. Meltzer says that it was so bad, one can only speculate on how those booking the show in the first place thought they'd be able to pull it off.
Because it's not like they were put in a position that they had to have a shitty show, right? Because you had, Razor Ramon went down with an injury. Okay, I get it. Yeah, it probably would have been better with him instead of Savio Vega. But at that point, it's like, okay, maybe we just pivot and maybe, I don't know, who else is in this tournament? Maybe Undertaker makes a run. Maybe we do, maybe Kama or Shawn Michaels. There were so many different options that they could have gone with. But, we said, I know what they were going for, the underdog, Rocky, but yeah, didn't pan out well. We mentioned Mabel. We could have had potential, but didn't. So yeah, it's just they might have had a plan, but yeah. Hey, at least Bret Hart was here, right?
Yeah, Bret kind of saved the pay-per-view. Although it was a really silly match, you get Bret Hart in the ring with like a broom or a blow-up doll, you won't have a bad time because he'll make them both look like stars.
This show, yeah. And I feel like this show probably set the tone for the rest of this year in 97 because who were the 2 guys that stole the show? Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And those 2 would be, I don't know exactly what point, but they're going to be main eventers facing off against each other. We all know their rivalry. So Undertaker involved in that. Yeah. So, and then, we're not too far off from like Mankind and Stone Cold, Rocky Maivia. I think most of that happens before the end of the year, right? Or is that 96?
Steve Austin debuts, I think, literally on like New Year's Eve or New Year's Day 96.
Oh, that's right. And Rock is Survivor Series 96, right?
Yeah. He would have been in developmental, maybe in Memphis, whatever the developmental program was in 95. But we would still see, like Fantasio would disappear and have one match and disappear. Man Mountain Rock was there. Ironically enough, I just watched a Man Mountain Rock match from WCW last night.
That's one of those guys that I went my whole life not ever hearing of this guy. And then I'm rewatching all this stuff. I was like, who the hell is Man Mountain Rock? But he's in WCW. What was his WCW name?
Max
Payne. That's right.
Same gimmick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, man, that's all I got on this show. Once again, thank you for making the time to slag through King of the Ring and talk about this dumpster fire of a show. But what is not a dumpster fire is the Fretzelmania podcast. Where can everybody find you and listen to you?
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Fretzelmania. That's FRETZLE Mania. I'm on Wrestle Addict Radio. We're just a small network of shows right now. I think we only have three shows right now, but our fourth show is a guy that just left, Mance. Big old shout out to Mance Chappell of the Delight Show. His stuff is still on our network feed because he's one of us. I mean, war forever. Every Friday on Wrestle Addict Radio, I'm reviewing some retro stuff. I just finished the Invasion angle, and thank the good Lord above, that was a slog.
Yeah, especially
near the end. It just got really ridiculous. I took a few weeks off in between the doldrums of the Invasion because unfortunately my father passed and I didn't want to do anything for that. So after I finished that off, I've been reviewing some old WCW, call it an epilogue, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped Starrcade 83 last week. By the time you hear this, I would have already dropped Chi-Town Rumble 89, Savage versus Steamboat.
Ooh, wee.
Very good pay-per-view, very good match. And the week after is a great slice of 90s cheese with, once again, my favorite, Sid, Beach Blast 93. The Masters of the Powerbomb, Vader and Sid versus Sting and the British Bulldog. And the build-up to this gives, what's that? Thunder in Paradise.
That's right.
A run for its money.
Oh. I still haven't caught that, and I don't think I ever will. But
in the new year, I just have to mention I'm starting the Ruthless Aggression era timeline.
Nice.
So I'll be doing SmackDown. So big shout out to the RA era podcast and the American variant of the Ruthless Pod as well, as they've gone through their thing. Wrestle Addict Radio is at addict_wrestle, Wrestle Addict Radio on Instagram. We have a Patreon, $5 a month. You get a group chat, you get some content. The content's been not much there lately, but we still have some great back catalog stuff. And if you wish, Patreons also get 15% off of our merch on spring. All the links are in my pinned tweet. So if you want a Fretzelmania mug or a sticker or a King Ricky Rose, shout out to the GM of Wrestle Addict Radio, a King Ricky hoodie.
Hell yeah.
All that's there. All that is there. I don't have any merch within reaching distance of myself. I'd be able to show on YouTube, but yeah, give us a follow here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did. I listened to your episode, your ECW Invasion episode with Nate. That was a good one. I need to get him back on here. I don't know if he has time nowadays, but yeah, that was a good one.
I'm certain he does. Listen, also, I have to mention Kings of the Rings podcast, Young Lions Perspective. There are the other shows on our network. Kings of the Rings live streams every Wednesday night at about 8 on Twitch and YouTube, although last night they were not because they were present at AEW.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they were there for that, and I got some great insight to Hook and CM Punk and MJF.
Are you a hooker?
Damn right I am.
I was gonna.
That's on my OnlyFans.
Once again, thank you to Frets from the Fretzelmania podcast for joining me on this plummet downhill. Man, what a show. Quite the historic show, I guess, if nothing else, to say the least. But go check out Frets on his podcast, the Fretzelmania podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Fretzelmania, Instagram as well. All of his info in the description. Go check him out. He's got a really good podcast over there. as well as the other Wrestle Addict boys. Yeah, it's hard to follow Bam Bam shooting flames out of his hands and King self-sucking his toes. So, there's really nowhere else to go other than to me for this to just end the episode, I guess, right? So, yeah. Do you guys like feet? I'm not a foot fetish guy, right? Me personally. It's not like my thing. But I could appreciate a good pair of walkers. I'm not mad at a pretty pair of stompers on a gal, right? Maybe touch them a little bit, give them a massage. Nothing wrong with that. Suck in between the toes, put your tongue in there. It's just guy stuff. So, yeah. So I get what Jerry Lawler's going for on this show. I don't want to kiss his feet. Maybe Brett's feet. What do you think Mabel's feet tasted like? I don't know. But anyways, I'll ponder this offline. I'll let you guys go. Thank you guys once again for listening. I love you all. Smooches all around. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is.